I'd like to talk about my Thor hammer today. This is a hammer I use for leatherworking. In this instance it has two copper faces, but the Thor hammer is a very old hammer style, and I think it goes back many decades. I have an old one in the shed, which I think is number 3, which is about 3-4 kilograms. But this is the smallest that they do. This is the size A. They go from the size A, which is this one here, and this is 400 grams. So it has a bit of heft for a hammer of this size, and it goes up to a size 5, which is 6 kilograms. So it's quite a large head. Much larger handle. It's for a lot heavier work. They use it in engineering workshops for shafts and bearings, and the reason is because it has quite a soft head. It won't damage the shaft or the bearing. But in my case, I use it for leatherworking, and it's a perfect size, I find, for leatherworking, because it's not so heavy that it's hard to wield and it's going to do any damage, but it's heavy enough to actually do the job it's intended for. As I said before, you can get it in a number of different faces. You can get rawhide faces, or you can get copper faces. In this instance, the one I bought, I thought I was buying two, a rawhide and a copper face, but I ended up getting two copper faces, as you can see. But that's okay. You can remove the faces and replace them with either copper or rawhide. The one in the shed that I found didn't have any faces on it, so I bought one copper and one rawhide, and I put them in. This tapers a bit away to the front, so it's a little bit hollow in the back here, if you can imagine that. And so I had to sort of grind a bit off the back edge here to get it in, but I managed to get the faces in, not a problem. You should, strictly speaking, use a hydraulic press to press the faces in, but I just used a vise and a hammer, and brute force and ignorance, as they say in the classics. So I use it for press studs, if you need a hammer for the press studs, to setting the press studs, and it's, of course, it's light enough that you can use quite a light touch, and it's heavy enough that you can do things like punch holes in leather, or pricking, for use with your pricking irons to prick the stitching lines in leather. I find it's quite effective for both of them. And again, it's also perfect for stamping leather. If you want to stamp your veg tan leather, stamp patterns in the leather, it works really well for that. I made some what do they call them, armlets, for my son for a fancy dress, and I stamped a sort of Celtic knot pattern in it, and it worked perfectly well for that. It's very good for that. So I will link below the Thor website, which is a British website. You can buy direct from Thor. I don't know what the shipping is. I don't know if they ship overseas, but you can certainly get them off eBay, and you can get them off Amazon. I'll put search links in below for the Thor hammers, and also put the link to the Thor website so you can see their full range. They not only do the hammers, but they do mallets as well, wooden mallets or hard plastic mauls. You can see there as well, in various sizes, but they're most famously known for their Thor hammer, and this is the classic Thor hammer. You can get fake hammers that look like the Thor hammer, but they're not the genuine Thor hammer. The Thor hammer is made in England, with the pattern, with the sizing and the number stamped into either an A or a 1 to 6, depending on the size. To 5, I mean, 1 to 5, depending on the size. So that's my Thor hammer, and that's my favourite hammer for use in leatherwork, for stitching, punching, and the like.